So drum roll, please. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. We appreciate you joining the Lily channel where super exciting people get interviewed and high quality information gets shared. Maybe you have a laugh or two, an inspiration,
Yeah.
or learn something or innovate, which is what Lily stands for. Laugh, inspire, learn, innovate. It's also my nickname. Ta-da-da! Well, I have with me Eva Moronge, who is a business owner, a nurse, a community leader, wonderful human being. Welcome, Eva.
Hello, nice to have you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm just excited to learn more about the home health care and what it's like being a nurse. But let's at least start out with the name, the Kingdom. How did you
Yeah.
come up with the name of the company? It's really interesting.
Yeah, so it was actually a process. So I came up with the name before I even knew it was supposed to be, before I even thought about even going into business, honestly. Um, so Kingdom, faith is really a big part of why I love caring for people and why I love loving on people because I feel like that's kind of the driving force of that for me.
Okay.
And so one of the scriptures that popped out was me, which is kind of our foundational scripture, is Third John 1 verse 2, which says that I wish in all things that you prosper, right? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, in all things to be a well human being, like a well-rounded human.
Okay.
And so for Kingdom, I was like, okay, so Kingdom Health Systems and Solutions, right? So Kingdom is that principle of, okay, what can we do to help build systems and solutions for people? Because especially in healthcare, right? Because health
Mhm.
is so important and health is so broad, right?
Yeah.
So and wanting to bring a holistic based on that scripture, God wants us to have a holistic being, right? So how can we help people be their best mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, in all realms of their life. Because
Yeah.
when you feel good in all realms, then you are able to do good, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I came up with Kingdom Health Systems and Solutions because I was like, okay, where do I want to impact healthcare, right?
Interesting.
And then how about, okay, Kingdom, all right, is bringing in, okay, that element of like, how do we tie in love and care and community and humility and all of those principles that surround that and
Right.
integrate that into how we do care, right?
Sure.
And then there's systems and solutions. So how are we solving people's problems, right? And then not only solving it and giving it like a temporary fix, but then also creating systems, right, that keep cultivating a place where those solutions can be maintained and they
Yeah.
can be replicated, right?
That
So
makes
that
sense.
people's communities are built, families are built, individuals. And so it becomes just bigger than just one person. It becomes a whole
A
network and system of
system.
support and love and health for people. So that's kind of what it all encapsulates or what kind of
Yeah.
went behind that. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And if I think I remember, but you might want to remind me how you decided to be a nurse.
Yeah, so actually, I've always loved helping people. I've always loved being able to uh be there for people and support people. However, I never saw myself actually doing that in a nursing capacity, right? So I was
It's
like,
interesting.
yeah, it was interesting because I always thought, okay, I was going to be in community advocacy or I was going to do public health or something like completely like on the other end of the spectrum. I didn't really know too
Mm.
much about nursing actually until about like maybe 2020, which was when I enrolled into nursing school. I didn't before that point going into nursing school, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was all about.
Yeah.
So when I heard nurse, I heard floor, right? But
Oh,
as I
yeah.
was going through the nursing program, I was like, oh, there's so many different ways that you could be a nurse, right? And there's
That's
so many
true.
different things that you can do that's not necessarily bedside nursing, which is what I
Ah,
automatically thought, right?
yeah.
So for me, as I was going through that, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually what I've been called to do because I feel like as a nurse, you can span anywhere from being an individual nurse to being a nurse for an entire community to
That's
advocacy to
true.
policy. There's so many different things that you can do. It's really what you make of it, right?
That's
And
cool.
so that's how I kind of stumbled my way onto nursing. And honestly, after I came out, I kind of started and kind of ended nursing school during that pandemic time when we had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of COVID.
Oh God.
So there was a lot of changes in healthcare, right? And how people did healthcare and a lot of things in healthcare that even the professors didn't know how to prepare us, and we didn't even know what we were coming out into, right?
Yeah.
Coming in and graduating and entering the work field in the healthcare system, nobody knew what was going to go down or how COVID or other things had impacted it or changed it. So it was kind of a trial by fire
Oh God.
of like,
No
okay,
kidding.
how you kind of like dumped in the middle of it. You got to figure out how it goes. And so, which I think it was really an amazing time because I was able to, well, one, this is how this was birthed, right? This company was birthed out of that
Right.
process of saying, okay, how is healthcare now? What are
Yeah.
some places that are hurting, or where are people struggling to keep up, or where are systems and solutions
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
struggling to keep up with the demand on the healthcare system?
Oh,
And how do
unreal.
we put the heart back into it, right? Because sometimes you might feel like, okay, people are in it for the money and pharmaceuticals and things are just like there's no more care in it, right? So
Yeah.
because a lot of times because either we're short staffed or we're burnt out or there's just so much demand but not enough people to supply,
Yeah.
those that caring loving support for people, right? um, so I was like, okay, so these are the issues. Now, how do I use what I have, right? The love that I have for people, the passion that I have for people, the education that I've gotten up into this point to be able to build something that is valuable to communities, to people, and to where I'm at, right? To help transform and to bring some sort of relief, right, or
Yeah.
contribute to rebuilding that, especially after post-COVID. How do we help? How do I do my part in helping rebuild that?
I would think it
Yeah,
would be really rewarding post-COVID. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
So everybody's super needing of it. But you
yeah.
gave me a somewhat of an answer to this, but I guess how is it very different from what you expected in school? You noticed there were all these types of nursing. What do you wish someone had maybe had told you before you finished?
Um,
Or what would you even
so
counsel somebody?
yeah, yeah, and I thank God because at least I've been able to encounter a lot of like new grads or a lot of new people are going into nursing, and I've told them that I think what I wish I would have known is to be open, right? Because I went in thinking, okay, it's gonna be one way. Because when you think science, you think, okay, it's gonna be one way. There's no gray areas, right? And that's kind of what they
Mhm.
teach you. Textbook and real world are
Uh,
two different things, right? So
right.
textbook and real world are different. There are some gray areas, right?
Oh yeah.
A lot of different things. So I think that being open and willing to learn, to ask questions, you're not going to ever know it all. So it's always being an open to be teachable, to always be able to learn, to interact, to be compassionate, right? I think a lot of when it comes to healthcare and nursing or just healthcare in general, it starts with the
Yeah.
heart, right? It starts with your intention, right?
Yeah,
You
very
can
much.
you can have all the technicalities you want to technically know what gauges are and what needles you use and all of that stuff, but that doesn't really, well, in some ways it matters, but at the end of the day, you're treating a person, not a
Hmm.
textbook, right? So
Yeah,
being able to say, okay, how do I cultivate the compassion in me, right?
that's
And how
true.
do I take time to breathe and advocate for my person, right? So I feel like what I wish somebody would have told me is like, okay, be open, be teachable, be willing to cultivate that compassion in you first, as well as being able to give quality care, but then also take care of yourself,
Oh
right?
gosh,
Because I
yeah.
feel like sometimes as caregivers or as people who are wired to love on people and to care for
Hmm.
them, sometimes the biggest neglect, we neglect ourselves.
Right,
Right. We
right.
neglect caring for ourselves. We neglect asking for help when we need it. We neglect some
Mm,
of those things. And so you can get burnt out really fast, really quick, especially if you're a compassionate person and you see all this pain and suffering. And sometimes people live and they are great and they go home, and sometimes they pass, right? So dealing with
Mm.
all the emotions of
Oh,
like
geez, yeah.
family and clients and systems and administrator and all of working short staffed and working
Oh,
long hours, so there's so many different strains on your time, on your emotions, that if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to end up resenting what you do, and you're going to end up
yeah,
resenting others and whatever you do. So most of the time people go in it because of the heart, and so it's important to keep sight and not lose that heart, and part of that is making sure to set healthy boundaries, making sure
that's
to take
true.
care of yourself as well as you're taking care of others.
Right, very much so. And I bet it can be a challenge if you're dealing with new technology to not only be present with the
Yeah.
patient, but also figure out what you're supposed to type into the screen and
Yeah.
to be communicating with them at the same time so they don't feel like they are an item, they're a human. Like,
Yeah, and that's yeah, and it's true, and that's kind of why I shifted over to home care a little bit. I still do work in facilities and a lot of different ways on the floor, but I kind of shifted a little bit more to concentrate on the home care aspect of it, just because I enjoy, it's kind of hard when you have 50, 60 clients, that
oh,
you have to get through everyone, that I didn't really feel like I tried my best, but I didn't have enough time to really sit there and like really process through that and help them process through their grieving or whatever it is, to help
oh,
them feel
yeah,
that whole holistic side of it, right? I felt kind of rushed, like, okay, here are your medications, how you feeling, stuff like that, but I couldn't really sit there and actually allow them to express it. So on the
mm,
flip side, doing that in home care, you do one person or two people, like one person at a time, you're able
yeah,
to really sit there and create customizable care plans that are like customized to them. I get to really actually sit there and hear them out. And so I really love that side of it, is being able to really see life from their perspective, like learning about their experiences, learning
for
about their life
sure.
perspective, learning about what they love to do and how I can help them do that.
Mm,
And creating like things that creating either curriculum or activities or care plans that
ooh,
help them shine in that, or like explore those things that they're passionate about, but they think they might not be able to do because of XYZ, right? Or
mm,
because of limitations of XYZ, right? So I really love being able to really slow down and take the time to actually be present and be with
yeah,
them and give them that support. So I feel like that's where it's feeding me in that, like, okay, that's
hugely.
what I love about what I do on both sides, both home care and on the facility side.
Are the evening part is, or the new position is with geriatric, or meaning not your company, the other side of what you do, is that the geriatric side or
Yeah,
okay.
so the other side of what I do, so as a registered nurse, a lot of what I'm specialized in doing, I do geriatrics,
Mm-hmm.
and then I do rehabilitation. So people who have had
Ooh.
surgeries like knees, hips,
Yeah,
all of them. So transitional care. So they're stable enough to leave the hospital, but not
yeah,
stable enough to go home. So I
okay.
help them through that process of managing their care during that rehab service. And then I work in nursing homes, I work in assisted livings, I work in dementia care units, kind of taking care of the
Ooh,
geriatric community as well. So
nice
yeah.
variety.
Yeah, it's a nice variety of a little bit of everything.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
yeah.
And you get them excited to be getting better.
Yeah. And it's so good. I joke all the time. I'm like, you guys are leaving me and you guys are flying away. Like they come in one way. I love rehab just because they come in
Mm,
like one way, and then like
yeah.
3, 4 weeks down the line, they're like walking and they're like excited to go home. And it's like,
Wow.
I helped do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's amazing. It's a beautiful experience to watch that growth and that processing through that. So yeah.
I just got a vague idea as to what it's like for the person who's been treating me for my concussion, because I have gone from being in a spot that walking around still made me dizzy, and now, I mean, I was able to drive, but at least now when I'm sitting here, I don't feel like there's a whirring thing in my head going
Yeah,
on like that. And it must
yeah.
be rewarding when a person can walk a straight line without looking like an ape. You know? I literally, the doctor was telling me, yeah, when you came in, you were walking like this, and now you're walking normally. It's like, wow. Now, if you could give me an example of the type of patients you've seen in your home care specialty. I mean, just some scenarios would be so interesting to hear.
Yeah, so example I've seen an older gentleman, right? Who his wife passed away and he was kind of lonely and he didn't really have limited mobility, so he wasn't really able to leave the house and kind of do what he wanted to do. So some of the ways that we would help him is coming in and spending time with him, right? Just being able to take an
Hmm.
interest in activities with him, being able to give him that companionship that he requested or would like. And so even him just being able to like be there and see the joy and the life in him. And then in
Oh.
the course of that, time, we were able to figure out, okay, what are some of the things that he was interested in and he loved. And he mentioned
Hmm.
that he loved volunteering, that before before his illness and limited mobility, he was able to go out and volunteer and give to different groups. And so we were able to say, okay, like what kind of groups do you like or what type
Hmm.
of things were you used to do? And so he listed a couple and we were able to create a plan where we gathered things up that he could donate. And I carried those
Hmm.
things and I dropped it off for him and I donated some
Oh.
of my time to volunteer for them. And we were able to update him on the progress and he was just like his face like
Wow.
just lit up,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So being able to be an extension of that, right? Using what we have to be an extension of that so the person can feel fulfilled and like they're still giving back to the community and still have a purpose and value, right? Because I feel like sometimes um when you are aging or when you're sick or when things happen, right? Or
Hmm.
even as a caregiver, if you're caregiving, you kind of feel like you lose a part of yourself, right? You
Hmm.
lose a little bit of that. And so um you might know you lost it, you don't know you might not know you lost that part, but being able to come in and give purpose and life back to that and give value, right? Giving value to those who are overlooked or forgotten
Yeah,
or not necessarily have that voice, right? So giving value and purpose back to them in
that's a
a way
huge
that
thing.
they enjoy is so and so important, right? And it's the ways that we can build our families and our communities and make them a better place for everyone. So, yeah.
Is there a certain age that starts at that you serve them, or it,
So we serve adults only, so 18
that's what I
plus.
thought.
We're not yet certified for pediatrics. So
Yeah.
18 plus, they can be anyone 18 plus that's
Now,
considered an adult. Yeah.
yeah. Now, I can't remember how it goes with hospitals and clinics that they give a family a certain amount of rehab services before and then it ends, or where do you come into the picture with how they contract with you?
Yeah. Um so there's different ways that people can contact me, right? So
Mhm.
we don't require referrals. You can get a referral from a particular place, but you don't necessarily need one. We are affordable private pay. I like to say affordable because when people think private pay, they're like, oh, extremely
Yeah,
expensive. No, 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 no. We're supplemental support, so
that's yeah.
we try to work with families to make sure that it's an affordable thing that they can get and they're able to maintain and sustain for themselves, right? So I think that they can contract me. So if they're in rehab, right?
Hmm.
If because there's different types of ways they can do this. So if
Okay.
they're in rehab and they're transitioning home, they can either um, call, text, or go through social work or however they would like to do that, reach
Aha.
out. And I'll go in and assess them and make sure that we can be able to help them, right? Because we're a basic licensor, so we don't offer any of the medical side of it. We can offer reminders, we can offer transportation,
Okay.
we can offer like appointment management, but there
Huh.
are some
Okay.
limitations that we can't do. Is like we don't offer nursing, we don't offer PT, OT, speech, different things that require a lot of medical training, right? Even though
Ah.
I'm medically certified, the business itself doesn't operate on that level,
Mm.
right? So that's the difference, right? So we would have to assess the people or the client, and then would go through a care plan, and then they would say, okay, we're interested, or we're in doing XYZ, and then we would initiate services for them. So that's how kind of how the process of admission would work. So they could contact us from when they're finishing off their rehab in their home already, or they would contact us if they're just in the community, they're at home and they just need a little bit of help. Nothing, they haven't gotten to the point where they need a rehab center, they haven't fallen or had anything
Okay.
major happen. And they just kind of were like, okay, we just need help with dressing or cooking or cleaning or rides to the grocery store or somebody else to shop for us, right? So if they're just in the community, they could just reach out via our email, our website, calling us, Facebook. We have all the
Yeah.
all the platforms.
It's
And
incredible.
so or if they're a caregiver, right? They're a caregiver and they're like, okay, I have an adult with a disability, but
Ah.
I need some time to
Mm.
do some extra things. We can come in and do respite care, or
Oh,
just
neat.
keep them company for a while you go and do whatever you need to do.
Sure.
Or you're a caregiver of your mom or your dad, and you need a bit of a break for a little while, or
Aha.
just need a little bit of help throughout the week to just kind of check on them, or just kind of do some things. We do also offer dementia and Alzheimer's
Wow.
care as well. So we do
Ooh,
help a little bit with that as well. So there's just
that's
there's so
incredible.
many different services, but
Yeah.
we like to say, okay, just give us a call, talk to us, and then we'll be able to customize, because that's what we hone in on, is the holistic portion, and then
Yeah.
being able to customize, right? Customizing our services and what we do to your needs, right? Because I don't think it's a one size fits all type of thing, right? It's one of those things where we say, okay, what are your needs and how can we best help
That's
you to
incredible.
fulfill that need? So,
To give
yeah,
respite care for a caregiver is just huge. I mean, think
it's huge.
of how you help them with their mental health.
Yeah,
You help them to stay in good relations with the person.
yeah,
It's a matter of safety as well, because they could
yeah,
possibly get to the point they just want to take it out on the person they've been taking care of.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's important. Now, speaking of
Yeah.
which, before we wind down here, what do you do to take care of yourself? I mean, other than eating right and
Yeah, eating right, taking care of my health. So, eating right, or trying to anyway, because sometimes that's not 100%
I
perfect.
hear
When
you.
you're on the go, you just grab whatever you can to give you sustenance.
I
But
hear you.
when you're busy, busy. But yeah, I like to meditate. I
Mm.
like music. I like
Ooh.
trying different activities. So, I think a few weeks ago I went out. I'd always heard about this VR, virtual reality thing.
Ooh.
So I'd never tried it before. So I was like, oh, okay, that looks fun. Let's go ahead and try that. So I took an afternoon and I went and I played a VR machine. So sometimes find activities
Wow.
that I've never tried before and I go out and do that. I take some time, prayer, meditation. Sometimes I just like to do like nature walks, especially when it's not
Mm-hmm.
outside. Just taking it, just being present, right? So I just find little things to that I enjoy that can bring joy back, or
Oh
that
yeah.
can kind of refill me, because sometimes it's hard to say no and slow down. But sometimes it's very, very necessary. Or plus, sometimes I'm like, I kind of want that ice cream. So
Oh yeah.
we're gonna splurge a little and eat a couple ice cream and come back and
Yum.
tag out when you need to. So being able to say, okay, I am done. I've tried my best. Now it's time to ask for help. Sure
Oh,
that
for
we ask
sure.
for help, making sure and that's the biggest thing, right? Especially when you love your people, love your mom and dad, you
Wait, wait,
love
wait.
a family member.
Something's. Oh, okay. Now you're coming back. Okay. Your the
I'm
sound
coming
was
back.
okay, but
I'm back.
your face was freezing for a second. I'm like, wait, hello. No.
Where did it go? So
There you
loving,
go.
right? I think that when you love people, when you love what you do, when you love your loved one, right? Especially as a caregiver, when you love your loved one, sometimes it's hard to ask for help, right? I struggle with
Yeah.
it sometimes too as a caregiver, slowing down and saying, okay, I've tried my best, but it's time to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's not, I was watching a show the other day, I think it's called 911, and one
Oh
of the
yeah.
things that she said was that, yeah, so one of the things that she said, it's basically a medical show where they have all different types of firefighters and all these people who dedicate their lives to saving and loving people. And one of
Mm.
the ladies, she was a firefighter. She fell down and she broke her leg. And so during this scene, she was struggling to ask for help, right? Because she
Wait,
was
wait, wait,
so
wait, wait,
used to
wait.
being the
We
one
got
doing it.
static again here. I'm wondering if I should turn my camera. Oh, okay. You just came back. Maybe I'll turn my camera for a second. I don't know. Now it suddenly works again. But so the 911 call, what happened with that?
Oh, so yeah, the 911. So there's a lady on it. She's a 911 operator, right? So she's the one who's used to always rendering help, giving help, loving on people, right? So she fell down and she broke her leg. And throughout the scene, she was basically struggling on how to ask for help. She was the one giving help, right? She's the one
Yeah.
caring for people, loving on people, things like that. And one of her friends came to help her, and she was like, "You need to realize that asking for help doesn't make you weak. It
Oh,
makes you
for
wise.
sure.
It
Yeah.
makes you wise." So I was like, that really stuck to me. It's like asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you
No,
wise, right? It
makes
makes
you
you
very
wise
wise.
because you acknowledge where your limitations are. And it makes you stronger because of that, right? Because then it's like, okay, when you're asking for help, you're calling on your community, you're rallying different gifts and ideas and opportunities for you to grow and become better, right? And for everyone to benefit from that, right? So I really think that really stuck with me because I was like, okay, yeah, even as a caregiver, even as somebody who loves on people and cares for people, sometimes, and then even the people that I'm serving too, right? I would like them to know
Hmm.
as well that asking for our help or asking for anyone's help, right? And not
Oh,
just,
for
it doesn't
sure.
necessarily have to be for us, but from anyone, right? Whether it's your family member, whether it's a community resource, whether it's another company, whatever it is that you're asking help from, right? It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you
No.
inadequate. It doesn't make you inadequate. It doesn't mean that you don't love or care for the person. It just means that you need a little bit of help with creating systems and solutions to help you build that network of support so you can give your
Yeah.
best each and every day.
Well, that makes total
Yeah.
sense.
So let us help you. Let
Oh,
people help you be your best. So
for sure. And I just got a
yeah.
notification that I'm supposed to get off in a second here, but what is one really goofy pastime that you have that people would not believe if they saw you doing?
Pastime.
Or just something that if they saw you doing it, they'd be like, "Are you serious?"
So this is I don't so here's the thing. So I'm notorious. This is what I'm number one. I'm known for this, right?
What?
So both on the floor and just in general, this is what they've tagged me as. So I randomly burst out into dance and song at random points in time
I love it.
all the time, like whether I'm at the grocery store, whether I'm on the floor working, at my med cart, in any like situation where I'm like, you know what, this needs a little sprinkle of pizzazz and life
That's
here.
fantastic.
I just burst out into like quick little dance move,
Oh,
or I just like
wow.
burst out singing. And it's nice because people are like, there's two reactions. Either they're like, okay, this lady's a little crazy. Why did she just randomly burst out of it? And then the other part is that people laugh, and sometimes they join in. Sometimes they actually join in. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they're like, okay, I don't know what you're on, but I want some of that.
It makes me feel like going
And I'll be like, enjoy.
celebration
I'm
time.
a,
Come on.
oh, come on.
So,
So that's the one quirky kind of thing that I kind of do. I,
I love it.
I feel like it makes me feel better, really stress, and then it like sets up an environment where sometimes it can be a little bit uptight or kind of not uptight, but just kind of like stressful, right?
just
Oh yeah.
doing some of the things that we do can be life in general is hard, not even just
Yeah.
healthcare, but just life in general is hard, and sometimes it slams you with a couple punches. And so how you process and have joy, find joy in finding joy in the little things, right?
For sure.
So my way of finding joy in the little things is maybe saying every once in a while, just busting a little dance move and singing a little song, and that helps me just kind of ground and just kind of be present and kind of remind myself and others that you can find joy in the little things. So yeah.
Oh, well, okay, now your face is unfrozen again. It looked really lovely when it was frozen too, luckily. But I just want to welcome,
Technology, you gotta love
oh my
it.
God, everybody who's watching us, please, if you have somebody at home who's tired of caregiving and needs high quality care, check out Kingdom. Tell them how to find you.
Yeah, so Kingdom Health Systems and Solutions LLC is our name. We have a website up, we have a Facebook, LinkedIn. So our emails are out there. So email Kingdom Support at KHLL no, khssllc.org. You can call us, email us. We have a Google business page. We have a Yelp page. We have all the pages, Bing pages. So you can definitely reach out at any point in time. We're here to help you. And even if we're not the best fit, we'll definitely help you find the resources or point you in the right directions for that. Because we do believe that there's a whole lot of amazing companies and resources that are committed to helping people. And we're just one of them. And so we would love to have you, but also we are also want to be the part of that process of helping you gain the support that you need. So helping you to find resources that will help you too. So there's no pressure. Our consultations are always free, right? So you only pay when you get admitted and we start the process. But our consultations are always free. Questions are always free. Just being able to help people, that's what we do and do best. So yeah.
That's so cool. I appreciate you being on here, Eva Moronge.
Yeah.
And thank you to Chris Polster for subscribing. Thank you to Susie Simonson of Fab Femme Collab, which is where we met. And
Ooh.
thanks to my next subscriber who helps me get to 500 to spread these words around like crazy. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody. We'll see you soon, Eva.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.